representatives of the U.S. Congress, or folks in the administration, leadership, American government officials to actually try and change anything on the ground in Palestine. I mean, I one of the reasons why I think my story made the splash that it did was unfortunately that I was the only Jewish official to publicly leave. There were some folks who left privately, and I wish that they had shared why they left, and used what felt like an important role that Jewish Americans have to play, and especially Jewish Americans in government, but also because that I grew up very pro-Israel, and I used to be involved with AIPAC when I was young, because that was just what my community did. If you cared about politics, which I did, because I was a nerd, and if you cared about Jews, in particular, you were pro-Israel. It was whether you're a Democrat or Republican, it didn't matter.
I got a new microphone.
And for me, also growing up I grew up in San Diego in a more conservative community with a lot of Republicans. Israel was kind of the one thing that we could agree on. And so I spent a lot of time in that space, and started to change my mind as I got to college and got to actually meet Palestinians and be confronted with the reality of the history of the state of Israel that I was only told, very propagandized, very whitewashed history of. But also as Trump was elected, and it became very clear to me, I was suddenly, I was like, why am I sharing space with white nationalists and with Christian evangelical right-wingers who, and why do these people feel empowered to tell me what to do, right? To tell me not to walk
just out of curiosity, is my voice more clear? Is it about the same as it was before?
Which is something that really happened. This guy with a giant wooden cross looked at me and said, "This is really not polite of y'all." And I was like, hold on, I thought people here were here because they cared about Jews and American Jews. And again, I was like 20 or 18, but all of that, that kind of like ugliness rising to the surface is what helped to break a lot of the cracks for me. And then working in the administration, even when I went in, was already moving to the left in a lot of ways, and was very clear-eyed about the role of AIPAC, and the role that corporate interests play. But it was another thing then to see the genocide unfold, and to see that, I was organizing massive dissent throughout the government, Capitol Hill staffers, administration, people across ages, rank, folks at the State Department, folks where I worked at Interior. It didn't matter. It felt like pretty much everyone around me, for varying reasons,
let me know if I'm coming in.
Thought that we weren't doing enough, and thought
more
that
clear,
our
and if you're hearing any background noise
for war crimes,
because it looks like it's picking up
of our own
the
laws,
audio in the back,
and was also going against both the expertise of people in government and the majority of opinion of American voters. We were all on the same page, but our bosses wouldn't listen, and people just were incredibly boxed out. And I've had Palestinian friends of mine get told to their face by members of Congress, we sympathize with you. You have the moral argument, but until you bring us money or votes, nothing is going to change. And I think that it's clear to, incredibly. I mean, that's how if you want people to care about government or care about democracy, that's really
family vacation
way to do
awesome.
But I think it's very clear to everyone now that AIPAC functions as a right-wing organization, and that it's a combination of industries, as y'all were saying. It's tech, it's AI, it's defense contractors, but it's also just the corporate powers that be. And it has, nothing to do with protecting Jewish safety, of course, and nothing to do with protecting the interests of the American people. And it's not even just about foreign policy, because all of these things are connected. Our war economy lines the pockets of billionaires here.
I guess I'll get right to it.
Tech makes a lot of money, in the ICE and deportation and incarceration system. All these industries profit from forever war and incarceration and deportation, and those are the people who give the most money to our representatives. And because of the way our political system is set up, which needs to be fundamentally
I don't understand
changed,
the freaking how
the people who give
TikTok
that kind of money
stats
are the
work,
ones
because I see people join, but they must just be flipping through, because there's no viewers. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean that is unfortunately
if it happens, it happens.
The reality.
Time to game.
I think that there is a shift in terms of being able to buy. It is harder now, and it will continue to get harder to buy people's votes, because we have access to internet and, social media and the kind of platforms like the one we're on right now that help people break through some of the mainstream media and just like lack of education and lack of political education in this country. But that's also why these like mass mergers of all these media companies are going through, and why someone like Jeff Bezos even wants a newspaper in the first place, because they want to control the flow of information that reaches voters. And that's one of the reasons why I don't know how familiar people are on this call with the organization called A New Policy that was founded by two of the other folks who resigned from the administration. But I'm doing some work with them
you hear
and,
like
and supporting
the
them
background
because
audio, let me know. So
I do think
make some
it's going to take a combination of outside pressure
but this just got the
and
microphone
people who know how to play
so
the inside game, and to like really change the politics
I'm
around
hoping it
Israel
sounds
Palestine
better
and
than
create
the
those new
headset
incentive
microphone.
structures within Washington.
Well, we really admire you for the journey that you took and also the courage that you showed to come forward. It was incredibly important, and for the work that you're doing. And Lily, Casey, Joy, Nida, thank you guys so much. I could talk to any one of you guys for like the whole night, but we have a million guests in the lineup. So thank you all so much. Love you guys. Great to see you.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
I think one of the strategies, in terms of, you have these mainstream politicians who realize now that they are wildly at odds with the base of the party, is now, I think this is part of what's happening with the whole decision to like demonize you.
Kind of lose-lose when it comes to media companies. Either they get greedy or they're controlled by the government. No way to truly prevent that.
They also don't want to have to talk to you because they know they're going to have to answer questions that are going to make them look really bad. So I think that's part of what's going on here too. Like Alyssa Slotkin, I think, was one who was like, that's out of bounds, Well, she doesn't want to have to answer the questions that you would put to her.
Yeah, I find it
like
really
there
funny
has to be a way to where
I never invited them onto my
their
show.
profits can still be guaranteed,
like saying that
but
they
that there's like absolutely
no
chance.
And it's
there's
very
like
funny
no
like,
hope to
there
where
are
they
some
can just become
establishment
overwhelmingly
liberals
influential,
that have to come on the show, and
in terms of like
kept it private,
financially or politically.
in the past, but
like it just has to be completely removed from all possibility. You know what I mean?
Journalist, and I didn't realize that wasn't
like Heritage Foundation spent like 40, 50 years trying to overturn Roe v. Wade.
It's on a New
like
Yorker
if it had just
article.
been completely
Now,
beaten out of their brains from the very beginning, like not literally, figuratively.
These guys don't want to have that conversation at all.
They wouldn't have launched
and I
a
think
40
year trying to do, what they think is they're operating the old guard
crusade, we can call it, because it's freaking evangelical groups, but
for a random Twitch streamer to appear alongside a politician, it's giving them credibility. It's very prestigious for a random Twitch streamer to get favorable media coverage from legacy publishers, like the New York Times. Oh, we went to the Vanity Fair's Oscar party. Like, we have to do something about this. And what they don't understand is that in the new media environment that we exist in, I get a lot more
why do I have so much open stuff? Get out of here.
Broad awareness out there when I appear on Theo Von's show. That's just the reality. The eyeballs and the attention are, maybe fortunately or maybe unfortunately, in the hands of people who are in new media, which don't have these similar attitudes, don't have this kind of like a gatekeeping perspective. And it's not necessarily good for me when a politician comes on my show. As a matter of fact, they get inundated with smears. It's good for them. I do it because there are politicians I want to hype up. I mean, Oliver's in here right now.
Well, this is just the Heritage. Yeah, I know, but that's like
fundraise for, and also
when
had
I'm trying to think of what.
So I think a lot of
what institution was most
Oliver's running against Jared
towards
Moskowitz
a very
in Florida in a Democratic
purpose.
Primary, and
like that is the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, and
is the Heritage Foundation and
like,
the Roe v. Wade. Like they legitimately spent that whole time like recruiting,
are hearing, third way
brand new law students
issue
just for the sole purpose of getting them installed within the justice system,
and maybe even getting a little bit of help from some
like they were
the other
so dedicated
and lobbying arms that we have heard from earlier.
And like,
of course,
it was so
Israel,
very specific
that politicians do these sorts of call-out posts. It is really
even a organization like AIPAC, like they're just
90 to 10
their purpose
the Democratic Party
is just
base
overall
like,
to support
whatever
the Israeli agenda happens to be, whether it's financially, internationally,
like that. It's
whatever.
Absolutely about genocide. It's
but the Heritage Foundation, no,
it's absolutely
it was
about denying
Roe v.
aid
Wade,
to Israel,
like
conditioning
tunnel vision.
aid to all countries, but certainly denying aid to Israel for its crimes. It's illegal in our laws for us.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, Rogan was going to die. It was just a matter of time.
They're very clearly using.
Well, see,
this
is the point I'm trying to make.
Violate our laws and violate international human rights laws.
If it had just been like
I
right
also
away,
welcome
like
in Qasim
beaten out of their
Rashid.
brains, like it's not changing. Like there's nothing you can do about it. It doesn't matter what excuse you give. Sorry.
Out my way in Virginia, and very courageous person as well. And mentioned before Hartzell Gray, but just to give people the details there, he's a Democratic Socialist. He's a former NPR host.
I think the only thing that would have done that was would have been like a specific amendment dedicated to that issue, like
nice,
outright.
It's a Super Bowl district. I don't know if you knew that.
Gotcha. Hartzell, what are you seeing in
like
your race in terms of how animated people are about the war right
never
now?
happened.
Yeah, and if I can start real quick, just to kind of piggyback on the AIPAC
Democrats use the abortion issue in the same way that Republicans use the immigration issue. They never actually wanted to completely resolve it because then they wouldn't be able to use it as
at the time,
tool,
we
a
hadn't
campaign
gone public
tool.
with our race at all. We had done some preliminary paperwork and things like that. But I'm on Insta. It's a Sunday night, and I get a random DM, and the person says that, "Hey, congrats on your race," and she has it all laid out for me. And she says, "I'm with one of the biggest lobbying firms in the country. Would
what
love
made me think
to
of the
reach out and have a
how
conversation."
important it is
literally
to
says lobby
have this like
in
definitive
the email. Like it's crazy, right? So I sent that to my campaign manager,
like in terms
and,
of
no ifs, ands, or
these
buts,
organizations
like, mask all the way off. It literally said her name at AIPAC.com.
Just singularly focused on
what we did
influencing
immediately was
policy
go
and
hit
becoming
up our
more
friends
profitable.
at Track AIPAC.
It was
shout out Casey one more time. But it is just another
Iranian,
example of trying to buy off another black face
the Iranian,
to shill and stump
military
for
released a
genocide
statement recently,
and apartheid
and one of their
national state. And so
basically it was
this
like
is
the
kind
main
of game,
goals
and to them this is a game, but
defense,
it is
right?
a real life. It is
and
our
their
lived
tactics.
experience for us, but to them,
and
it is
one
just
of them was
like a chess piece.
like they
and at
will
the time,
not stop.
By the way, Cleaver is an AIPAC candidate
until like the U.S. and Israel gets it out of their head.
20-year-old incumbent. So they are still going to hedge their bets for the young black dude, as opposed to shilling for Israel with the old black dudes, right? And so
like
that
even
is just right
even
off
if
the
the
bat,
U.S.
I wanted to say how much like this
or Israel
is
comes forward and they're like, okay, you know what, we want to negotiate.
This is an
Iran's
assault
gonna
on
be like,
democracy and the guys
like, no, we're not. Like you either leave
for
and don't come
a
back,
marginalized group, and I just think that that is disgusting. To be honest with you. So what I'm seeing on the ground, I am seeing people who have worn the Trump hat 3 times, will vote for him another 3 times, which I think is probably their plan. I think at this point, and what they know about Trump, to quote some of the evangelical words, it's like they know Trump is an
it's so stupid
vessel,
because like
right, but it is the MAGA Republican congressman they have, who I'm going up against, Mark Alford, who is supposed to soothe from Trump's worst angels. So I can't get them to say that Trump sold them down the river to Israel. But what they are telling me when I knock those doors, they're saying, "Hey, Mark Alford sold us down the river to Israel," because our folks understand that private equity who are taking up our apartments in downtown Kansas City are also taking up the apartments in rural America, but also their farms.
You know what I mean?
Right? So why are we sending bombs to blow up babies in schools?
Like, there's no question.
Be, I don't know, funding rural hospitals here, are just making sure we guarantee universal health care, housing, a guaranteed job. Like our folks
or something.
are feeling this. Missouri is the show me state, and these folks are showing their asses.
You have to get that
and so
cleared
what we are
with
doing
like a
is we are coming after theirs.
like
and
a
that
congressman
is a
before you can have
like this is a red state
removed.
that also
like,
voted to raise the minimum wage. This is a red state that voted to get rid of right to work.
It's going to kill me
they gave
if I don't.
paid time off. Now the Republicans, they of course have fought us at every turn. We codified abortion. Now it's back on the ballot. make that make sense. So again, like this gerrymandering fight is happening now, but it's something that us working people, we have been under the thumb of the empire.
It's not.
We understand what this is.
Going to include a like choosing cyanide for headache.
Off of our pain, right? Profiting off of genocide. What we should be doing when it comes to domestic security. Or
I'm not saying that the doctors should
Let's actually make sure that the global South is going to be around for a while. How about we make sure that
I'm not saying that they should have like
cyanide available,
in their medicine lockers.
Doesn't make any sense.
Well, Hartzell, I mean, that's a great way for us to kind of turn our conversation to Qasim here. You're a human rights lawyer, obviously. There's like this kind of, I would say, ignorant understanding within some Democratic Party consultants that nobody votes on foreign policy, and that if it doesn't affect their pocketbook immediately, that it's not going to be a motivating issue at the polls. What has your experience been in relation to that kind of theory?
Well, the short answer is that
it's so
crappy theory that's been disproven repeatedly.
Ban it
but
so
before I even dive into that aspect of it, that theory could have some merit, some legitimate merit if the Democratic Party had been a party that championed working people. They wouldn't even be able to get if it worked on getting corporate money out of politics, if it worked on raising the living wage when they had the trifecta,
it's so ridiculous.
And not letting the Jim Crow filibuster prevent them from doing something as basic as that. If Biden and Harris had fought to extend the child tax credit, which once it expired because they capitulated to Manchin and Sinema, childhood poverty raised by 33%, literally overnight. If they had canceled student debt, if they'd passed universal health care. So they make this stupid argument, but then in the meantime, when you ask them about working families issues, they're abysmal. People forget that
here's the problem.
Under Biden and Harris, forget the inflation part of it. That was tied to COVID, and the U.S. did actually better than most of the developed world on the inflation side. But on just sheer wealth and income inequality, the United States continued to be the worst in wealth and income inequality in the developed world.
So I'm not going to do it.
60% of Americans can't
go ahead and
even make ends meet. So this argument that they vote with their paycheck, if the Democratic Party, if the establishment actually believed that, pass some goddamn policies that reflect that. But beyond that, what we know from more than 30 surveys conducted during the 2024 election was that the number one issue, and I immuted a poll right after the election as well, the number one issue was why are we funding a genocide in Palestine right now? Why are we sending $38 billion to a regime that's being credibly accused of war crimes and genocide when my kid can't get enough to buy school lunch, or I can't afford basic daycare? And so I think this the disconnect of the domestic policy that isn't serving working people, and then not recognizing that people aren't stupid and they see that Israel has universal health care, we don't. They have free college tuition, we don't. They have abortion access, we don't. You're not inspiring people to come out and vote for you. You're simply pointing out your own hypocrisy and not realizing it. The last thing I'll point out is that Biden ran on Build Back Better.
And
that
has
was
a procedure
his shtick, right? That you elect me, I will save the soul of America, I will restore order, I will restore a sense of decency.
Or the woman
and then the second they ran into a tiny bit of opposition from within their own party,
it should never happen.
Dropped it completely. And we saw Harris do the same thing as well. Ran a strong campaign at the start, and the second her brother-in-law said, hey, maybe lay off on the attacks on the corporate executives,
the problem I have.
We saw that whole thing shift again. And I think until the Democratic Party establishment recognizes that we need more than just slogans, it can't be just
filter
that meme of the difference between Republicans and Democrats.
What goes
Republicans
between a doctor
will
and their patient,
bomb a brown country, and Democrats will put a pride flag on a plane and bomb a brown country.
I think that might
the difference cannot just be that. It has to be substantive. And until that happens, we're going to keep losing elections.
I just know it's none of my business.
So Hassan, you raised money for Oliver.
I shouldn't even be allowed to vote.
You guys came together.
Whether or not
Oliver, how did that go for you guys?
Health care. It's absurd.
Materially changed the course of our campaign, and I think that was really just a flashpoint in what so many people across the country have been feeling, and honestly why Hartzell and I came together to help organize this event, which with such an incredible lineup, I can hardly believe how many people are participating. But it makes an awful lot of sense because when Jared Moskowitz came out against the Ro Khan and Thomas Massie War Powers Resolution, Jared Moskowitz went so far as to call it the Ayatollah Protection Act. That was just an insult. It was a slap in the face to his colleagues, and that was really the first moment. I've been running against Moskowitz since last year, and he's been awful on many different issues preceding this, but this was a flashpoint because he was giving Donald Trump a blank check to take us into war. When my generation, Hartzell's generation, our communities have been completely divested from to spend trillions and trillions of dollars overseas. And so it occurred to me that, yes, I need to elevate this fight against Jared Moskowitz, but
get it out
there are
of
candidates
their heads.
waging this fight all across the country against AIPAC Democrats, against AIPAC Republicans, and so that we needed to organize. And that's my background is as an organizer, but going on Hassan's stream and I find it really irritating, but also a little bit humorous because not to compare Hassan at all to Joe Rogan, but I do remember a discourse around a certain Democratic candidate for president, an independent from Vermont, going on Joe Rogan in 2019, and people lost their freaking minds that Bernie Sanders went on Joe Rogan's show. And then fast forward 4 years, why didn't Kamala Harris go on Joe Rogan's show? So I can see a scenario where people are scolding Democrats for going on Hassan's stream now, but
I would say
this is a platform that is going to be decisive in 2028. The online space, Hassan's, speaking truth to power, like calling out the genocide, calling out the neo-colonial apartheid state of Israel. This is becoming a bipartisan issue. I mean, we ran a poll in our district earlier this month, and for those who aren't aware, I'm running in sunny South Florida, one of the hotbeds of AIPAC candidates. I'm running against Jared Moskowitz. We've got Debbie Wasserman Schultz right next door. There's this perception that South Florida is uniquely different or uniquely less caring about sending U.S. taxpayer dollars to bomb children overseas and to perpetuate a genocide. We ran a poll, and by a 2-to-1 margin, people want to condition, reduce, or completely eliminate military aid to Israel relative to those who want to continue funding this genocide as Donald Trump drags us into war, as Israel invades Lebanon and creates 1 million refugees. And my perspective is we just have to be open and honest. We need to have a family conversation about AIPAC's influence in our democracy. AIPAC endorsed 109 insurrectionist Republicans after the 2021 attack on the Capitol. In that very next midterm, AIPAC doesn't care about democracy. AIPAC cares about what AIPAC cares about, which is the corporate interests, the billionaire class, and perpetuating this U.S. colony in the Middle East that is only able to exist with our taxpayer support while we're getting affordable housing divested from. When we've got $1 trillion in Medicaid cuts, they're asking for $200 billion for this war with Iran. Where do you think that money came from? It's coming from the $1.1 trillion in Medicaid cuts. Meanwhile, we can't have public transportation or affordable housing. So
as a treatment for the common
I was more than glad to go on Hassan's stream.
I don't even care about that.
We need, as Democrats,
you want to use a leash
we need to
go
into these spaces. As a democratic socialist, there's a lot about our campaign that is challenging assumptions about South Florida. But what I can tell you is that at the No Kings protest in Fort Lauderdale today, I was standing on the beach speaking to a few thousand people. And when I said South Florida deserves our Zoran Mamdani too, we deserve democratic socialism in our community too, because the working class is all across the country. The working class exists in blue districts, in purple districts like ours, and in red districts. And if we just speak to that, if we speak honestly and authentically about our experience as working people. I'm 33 years old. I never even ran for student council, but I'm doing this because our country needs to change. We need to change, and this Democratic Party needs to change.
Oh, you didn't tell me.
So,
you didn't answer if the
maybe putting a pin on it, but
if this microphone sounds
very much
better,
encourage any candidate
if you're hearing
that is curious about going into these spaces, do it, because this is a community. The online space, this is decisive in our elections now. This is where people intake information, they build community, they process information, they disseminate it. And if we're not engaging in these spaces, then Costume's right.
We don't
Democrats
have to
will continue to lose.
Actually, I agree.
We have to be honest, and we have to be
might disagree about
and unafraid of the attacks of anti-Semitism when we know we're just standing up for human rights.
The problem
it's also just, I mean, it does remind me of Zoran's election because right after Trump wins, all these Democratic strategists are like, we've got to win back the young men. How can we do that? And then here's this candidate who is, phenomenally popular with young men, and they're like, no, not like that. And
but
I mean,
not
same
to the
thing,
point where it
Hassan,
micromanages
who, speak to a lot of young men who really look up to you, who could easily be,
instance,
if they got on the wrong algorithm and were swayed in a different direction, you could imagine them in,
medical
right
testing,
wing on Nick Fuentes or whatever audience. So, quite to the contrary of you being some raging anti-Semite,
all these
I would be hard pressed to think of someone who has done more to combat anti-Semitism than you, because you're always extraordinarily careful to say, I'm not talking about all Jewish people the way that Zionists want to, like Netanyahu, want to conflate all
let's say
Jewish
make a doctor
people with
can
the
refuse to
genocidal
perform operations
actions
that likely
of
cause
this,
medical
you know,
companies, universities, and other
apartheid
institutions
state.
to screen for those people
Yeah,
and prevent
absolutely.
them from
I mean,
becoming
I
doctors
do my
as
very
it
best,
reduces profits.
to
Okay,
such a
like
degree
so.
that people sometimes
Actually, I
get
don't have a
annoyed.
problem with that.
I mean,
Like the
even
way
Kyle
you
was,
worded
saying
it sounds
you have
like,
to do
oh no,
so
it's
much
gonna
throat clearing
have
every
bad
single time
problems for the system. But
you
here's
talk about
my
Israel, like, we
thing.
get it.
If
It's
you
just,
go
unfortunately,
into the medical
media
field,
environment that we're in,
you
and I
have to
will say,
understand
a big
that your
part of this
goal is to help
actually
people medically.
Islamophobia too.
If you
The idea
if
that,
you
like,
pursue a
any
medical
Muslim,
career, and you're like,
no
you know
matter
what,
how
I want to
white
help
they are,
everybody,
like me,
except for
is
these people.
automatically
Like, you don't deserve to be
anti-Semitic.
part of the
suspicion
field.
that they're always,
So,
of course, going to be anti-Semitic is totally
I
ridiculous.
think it would be a good
and
thing
we saw
to
this,
filter out
with Zoran. Not only just like
it would
my
be a good thing to
association,
filter out people
being used
who
or
are
being
willing to
weaponized
deny
against them in some way,
service
even though it was a
because of
spectacular
their
failure,
own,
obviously.
like they're not
but
willing to
also
separate,
tying Zoran
they're not
back
willing to
religious extremism, tying
compartmentalize
myself back
like
to
their
religious
own personal
extremism.
feelings
And we're now seeing
with
that happen with
the
Abdullah
needs
Sayed,
of the
in
patient.
his race in
You
the
know,
Democratic primaries in Michigan.
I think those people do need to be
it's
weeded out.
It's very cynical, but I think people are recognizing exactly what the issue is about. They just don't want to have a conversation around Israel because you can't have a real conversation around Israel on
I feel
moral
like
terms.
I feel like it's still
They've
picking
lost
up
that argument,
like all
so
the
they
other
try
sounds
to
in the
say
room.
anyone who speaks out against Israel is an anti-Semite, and in this
I'm seeing it
circumstance,
pop
they're
up.
heavily leaning into the Islamophobic associations by claiming, you know, Abdullah Sayed, he's a Muslim guy. What does that mean for you? How does that make you feel? And what's really remarkable about that race is that this is the exact same issue that took place in the 2024 election. This was the exact same problem, that they chose not to associate with the Palestinian cause. They did not recognize that this wasn't simply some sort of ethnic or sectarian tension, that there were people of good conscience that came from every different background.
Yeah, that last you said
understandably
it reduces
saw
profits.
The horrifying violence that was unfolding.
Doesn't that kind of
on
make
our
it sound like that's
and
the actual
wanted
problem?
the Democrats to put an end to it
Is
because
once
they still had this
once medical
notion that the Democrats
service,
actually do represent
once the decision,
humanitarian values,
once a medical
in the way that
decision
they,
is
claim
narrowed
that they
down
do.
to profit margin,
and they lost that election because they
you know what?
didn't
I might
want
actually
that tent
shift
to
my
be
previous
so
statement.
wide that
I think that might be the actual
anti-Zionists
problem.
could be a part of it.
Is that
they wanted to expand
healthcare
that tent,
should
as
not
they
be
always do.
a for-profit
Phyllis Cheney's
industry.
world to Bill Clinton, to bring Bill Clinton and Richie Torres.
Yeah,
to Michigan,
actually, that's going to
only
be
a month out from the general election. What a spectacular
like
failure
not
that
so
was.
much that
So it's remarkable to see.
I'll say that
Haley Stevens,
government
who's already an
having
AIPAC stooge, obviously, but then also
government trying to micromanage
Mallory
individual
McFarland
health decisions.
trying to like move into that
I'd
lane
say
in
that
this,
that's
like,
actually
very,
I'm shifting my position on
not
this
so
within
subtle way
couple minutes.
by drawing a line.
That is a
What do you think
symptom
is the
of
play
a
there?
for-profit healthcare industry.
Is she trying
I said
to-
this to you
So I think
yesterday,
that's a
Hassan,
legitimate
but
problem.
I don't donate if you guys can
That
to
is the
combat some of this
disease.
money that's flooding in. But I think that was McMorrow auditioning for
But I'm
the
glad you said
Zionist
that. I
money
probably wouldn't have thought of that
Haley Stevens
unless
had
you
previously
had
been
said
getting.
specifically
So,
said the word
equivalent
profits.
in-
go
just-
after Abdul in an openly Islamophobic way. So like we can go after Hassan because we can scare the boomer donors that may or may not be Zionists, but like they're rich, so more than again, you know, wealthy donors and the Zionist project do overlap. But like they're also basically saying like, hey, you know, this is an alternative to Abdullah Sayed, the scary Muslim guy that we don't want to have in office. I'm attacking Hassan. Look, you
I
can
don't know
trust
if,
me. You know, J Street or APAC.
And
I have a
I'll
TikTok
add to
too.
that really
I
important
really don't do
point
much on
about
it, to be
because we
honest.
just had the Illinois primaries here, and we
But
saw
I do
the
want to
way
say
they
that
function.
I might be
$22
having
million APEC spent
a conversation
in this
with
primary.
a
22
recent
million. The number of times they
congressional,
mentioned Israel, zero.
candidate
The number of times they
on,
mentioned
Friday,
AIPAC, zero.
if you're interested.
They know that they are so toxic and disliked
But
by
I thought
everyone
the
across
video
the
that I
board.
put on,
that they
I thought the video
actually
that
set
I
up
put
two
on
PACs,
TikTok was
one
pretty
called
cool.
Elect Chicago Women,
Not really a video,
and then
it's just
while
an image
slamming
with a song.
Kat Abu Ghazaleh as a progressive,
But I thought it was
Chicago
catchy.
Progressive Caucus, just a complete fabrication. And so when you see these dog whistles,
that is another issue. We
attacking
need to
Hassan,
revamp
it's
our
actually,
regulatory body, both
Hassan said
nationally
it
and
perfectly. It
federally.
is pure Islamophobia.
Yeah, this is true.
And Mehdi Hassan just put out this really
So,
important point
have you,
on his social
have you
media
had an
that
opportunity
people like
to,
Booker and Slotkin and
see
Gallagher talking
what,
about how they would never go on Hassan's
Zohar
show,
Mamdani did
but
in
they've been
New
on
York?
Maher's show, who drops the
in
N-word
terms
like there's
of
no problem at
their
all.
budget
He's, had the most grotesque
and their,
compared all Muslims to ISIS. Says, I don't want that desert culture here.
Like they're,
But
what
they have no
he's-
problem
he's
going on
basically
his show.
doing
So
like
it is a
what
grotesque double
Doge
standard.
should
It is
have done.
Islamophobia, and it's important that we lean in at this point. Instead of shying away, lean in because they're already on their back
Like,
foot.
he's actually
they're not
doing it
even
the right
able
way.
or have the confidence to mention AIPAC or mention Israel. because they know that people are associating the Israeli government with genocide, rightly so. For us to back off now, I think it would be a disservice, and it would enable them to win elections that they should win otherwise.
I guess.
Do you guys
I don't
worry
remember what he
about-
called
I
it,
mean,
but their sole purpose
does a
is to
Democrat
go
ever allow
through
themselves to
the
take any NRA
finances
money
of all
or any
of
kind of gun lobbyist money, right? Like, why is there
the
some
state's
kind of
agencies,
exemption when it comes to not
and
just
their
AIPAC,
sole
but again, like this is a
purpose is
broader
to find
conversation now, right? It is
savings
the entire
without
Israel
cutting
lobby. And
services.
again, like,
without cutting social
especially with
services.
this $200 billion ask, especially in
And
like
within the
rural
span
America,
of 2 months,
they're
they've
like,
been
wait a
able
minute.
to
Like, hold on a
reduce
second.
their
Like, number one,
their
this
budget
don't make sense.
was going to
Also,
have like
does
a
this have
$12
something to do with
billion
Epstein? I mean, our folks, the amount of
by the end of
insulting
2027,
intelligence, but like what I'm also learning is they don't want to be educated.
Based on
but what we can do as
the last
folks
2
of the
months,
left is
they've
to
cut
just
it down
kinda
to like
help
5 point something
point
billion.
out the direction, right? Like, yes, no, this is absolutely part of the Epstein class. That
And that's just like he posted a video recently where
40-year project of a bunch of
he was talking
neocons
about some of
and
the ways that they
and so
were able
I'm not
to,
saying that I'm going to draw a
find
line for
savings
you because I'm not
within
going to
the
insult your intelligence, but
within
I'm
the
saying,
spending, the
like,
state,
if you just
the
look
city
like,
spending.
if you look that way, like you see all this.
He said that there were
you
like
see
a
all this
bunch
checks,
of
right? And I think that this moment the window's open.
a bunch of leases.
Hassan,
like the
I know
city
you
was
need to get back to
leasing
your
spaces that
84
they really
hours
didn't
of
Absolutely. I
screaming
think
that you do.
we might be bumping up against the.
What is it? Oh my gosh, there was a
this
video
segment,
he
Crystal,
put.
are you there? I can't.
I'll play it
see
after.
You guys hear
for
me?
some
Click on
reason,
try
but
again on your
Try
screens
again.
if you have an issue
I just
with
did it.
seeing Chris.
I'll try to play it a
it'll
little bit
fix
later,
it.
but
That's what I did.
You guys
Okay.
hear me?
All right.
Easy.
Well,
like
I
as
think
the
I can hear you,
executive
Crystal.
of New York City,
Oh, I cannot hear Crystal. for
basically
some
the president of New York
reason.
City.
I don't want to talk over her. So
he is
Crystal.
doing. He's taking the
I
good
just,
part
really
of
quick, Hassan, before we let you
Trump
go,
tactic
one
where
other
it's like
thing
in
that's
your
been
face
that
all
I've been
the
wondering
time.
your thoughts on.
You know, like
I've actually
constantly
heard some of
telling
your
people
thoughts
what's
on,
going
but,
on.
You know, Tucker
But
Carlson, we see him out
he
there
doesn't have
doing
the
some
bad
great
part
interviews that
about
are
it, where
quite
he's
enjoyable
just
to
doing
watch.
it just for the sake of
At the
having
same time,
attention. Period.
He's a Christian
Like he's actually telling
and
people.
has a worldview that is repugnant. So,
Like he's
you know,
basically
what
has
are
like
your,
a 20 to 30 minute
strategy
press conference
for how to
almost
approach
every
this
single
man?
morning where he talks about what's going
That's
on.
a great question. I've been tracking Tucker Carlson's
And like you don't
activities,
see that
quite closely
from
since 2016.
elected
I've
officials
often
very
said
often.
He's one of the most dangerous propagandists because
Except for
he has a
Trump, who
very
just
good way
narcissistically
of
wants
making
the
white
attention.
nationalist talking points incredibly palatable. And even back in 2016, people used to associate the stuff that he was
Tax
saying
system,
with, like,
voting
very
system, court
prominent
system,
white
regulatory
supremacists and
system,
white nationalists, like the Great
naturalization, immigration,
Replacement
education,
theory
many more
that he
systems need revamped,
routinely,
restructuring, not even
brought
just
in
like
to mainstream
over constitutional
conversations.
concerns, but
And
when you
now
look at
that's
how
actually become a
convoluted.
mainstream
Yeah,
fixture
dude.
of the
Have you
Republican Party. And as trend lines go, maybe
have you
it'll be
seen
the Democratic Party's
the,
main talking point as well in the next 4 years or so?
the
way that
hierarchy
they've been
structure
approaching things
of
and following the Republican lead.
ICE?
Having said that, one of the things
basically
that
has
I am
to-
very frustrated with Tucker
the-
Carlson is that he is
the head
he's
of
a very
ICE,
skilled communicator. He's also
when
fairly
when
good
it was
at reading the
initially
room,
instituted,
even
like
though he's a
now it's kind of
propagandist,
just
he's very
like
good at reading
whatever
the room,
Trump and Stephen
and
Miller want.
He
But
has recognized, and I don't
it
know
actually
if he's
has
genuine
to
about this or
report to
not,
like
but it doesn't
50
really matter.
different
He's recognized
oversight
that this issue,
agencies. I don't know what to call them
Israel's genocide
agencies,
of
but
Palestinians, is one where he can
entities.
lead, right?
it's absurd.
My fear
Like it
is
wasn't.
that,
There was no way that this was because
for the time being, it's great.
it was meant to
you
be
know,
like
maybe he's,
investigatory. It was
able
meant to be,
bring some Republicans to
to a more
enforcement.
humane like it was just absurd.
on this issue alone.
It barely does
but
what
that's
it's
not
supposed to
being
despite
reflected
being a
in the
metric
poll
ton of laws
results, right?
departments being made for it.
Republicans
Yeah,
seemingly are operating.
and like
well,
Social Security
they don't
should be
really
simple.
care. Tucker Carlson
Absolutely
says he's
simple.
against the
It
war
should
in Iran.
be.
Well, 100%.
It should be
MAGA says
overseen
they're
by
for
like
it.
the Treasury
And
Department.
Overall, I believe, what is it, like 85% of
If there's a
Republicans
better
are
agency,
approving
I really
of
can't
this,
think of what other
this
agency would be
bombing
better to
campaign that
oversee it than the Department of the
destabilizes entire
Treasury.
world. So my frustration and fear is that if
It should not
Democrats
be
don't
able
lead
to be
on this issue
accessed
and lean into
by
their base on
any
this issue,
other
because that's,
agency.
like I said, a 90-10 issue where 90% are
Which I don't know if you
in support
know
of
this,
decoupling from Israel,
but it
and
actually
only
was
10% want
operating that
more
way.
support
It was
for Israel.
basically it was basically a
And Tucker
U.S.
Carlson is
savings
either going
account.
to utilize
Yeah, it was one
the
big pool,
existing leadership role
but it was
that he's
just a
had,
savings account where money
in
went in and did
2028
not come out until
to
people
prop up a
became
candidate, maybe JD
where they
Vance,
reached a point
potentially,
where they were
or
able to
even run
access it.
himself. And if
But
the
then,
Democrats
during Reagan,
don't spend the
you can look
next
this up.
couple of years
During Reagan,
also leaning into into their base.
I don't know if
and advocating
I don't
for this
remember
issue, advocating for freedom for
if
Palestinians,
it was
sovereignty and dignity for them,
an executive order. I think it was a legislative
that we were waging
decision that was when Reagan had the majority in both both chambers.
They're going to lose because their crossing will have
absolutely.
But it allowed
credibility on this side.
The government
and what are the Democrats
to
doing?
use
They're actively
the
trying to
funds
attack
in Social
me
Security
and
in the Social Security funds,
you guys as well, eventually,
as a
because we're
basically a loan,
unapologetic with
like
our
they were able to
anti-Zionism.
use funds
we're
as a loan,
unapologetically anti-genocide.
So
and
they were basically taking
scared
people's money
of facing their base
out of Social Security, saying, "Oh, we need to
they
borrow
don't
this.
Even want to recognize,
we'll pay it back with interest."
Someone like myself, I'm just a megaphone. I'm just a platform.
And they just kept doing that.
The
so
masses.
As soon as that happened, that's when you started to see the downward spiral
I have the same frustrations that many
the
Americans
viability
do,
of Social Security.
I'm just simply able to communicate it to this audience.
To be honest, we shouldn't have a need for it as it applies to our economy so bad that even if you
like
work for a good chunk of your life, that you will need assistance.
You're
Which
not going to be able to
doesn't mean we have
make
failed
like
in other sectors, since it doesn't act as a safety net for exceptions, but as a rule for a lot of people barely make ends meet. So we're just failing so many other ways. So I remember you telling me you're like in your early 20s. I'm in my 40s. I remember my grandparents. Like this is how long ago it was. My grandparents.
On the Republican side, look at Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro was very popular.
Were able
Ben Shapiro
to
was funded by the same people, the same
pensions.
Institutional
that's what it is.
donors that have funded
most
the Republican
companies
Party.
during when my grandparents were working.
And now look
pensions.
at Ben Shapiro's popularity.
And I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Might be demonstrably Israel.
I'm sure you've heard the
his
term.
Audience perished.
But
left.
It was basically like
that actually don't put Israel
the company
in their conversations
was required
and
to put money into a pension, which is basically a
what are the Democrats doing?
Yeah.
What is liberal
but on a
media
company
doing?
level.
What is Jake Tapper doing? These are people that will now try to elevate Ben Shapiro's platform.
But as unions became weaker,
showing us over and over again that they would rather
as corporate
coalesce
taxes
people
dropped,
who are pro-Israel,
you saw these pensions slowly go away over time.
Israel. Then
so what happened is the individual became responsible for their retirement.
Recognize at the moral center of the party,
whereas before,
the base of support,
as long as they worked for a company for 20 years, 20, 30 years.
Yep, it's absolutely
they're
right.
good.
Hassan, thank
you know,
you
the
so
Social
much for
Security
coming
would just
on,
be like
and all the other
a backup
candidates
plan,
here.
You know?
You can
not
Oliver Larkin,
a necessity as it is now.
Hartzell Gray, and Qasim Rashid.
But
Obviously,
this was also at a time
all phenomenal
when,
anti-war voices.
like CEOs,
and I do want to say that
the CEOs
we're about to hit 10K raise
was maybe like 25 times greater.
If people want to contribute,
than the regular workers.
Progress.win/rally
and now it's
is
like
the place to go. Progress.win/rally.
And now there's no pensions.
You can help contribute
like
there.
What are we supposed to
Thanks
do?
to all the phenomenal candidates, and of course the #1 terrorist supporter in the country, Hassan Piker. I condemn you once again.
So,
everybody, leave me off
believe
your
it or
terrorist
not,
watch list.
The way I feel is like I don't feel that our system's broken.
Right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
I feel that right
Qasim.
now it's operating exactly the way it was designed to. It's operating exactly the way that these changes have intended to make.
Dr. Goilani Jihad, MD at your service. You're so stupid.
Like especially like obviously there was the start of it before Reagan.
That was good people's.
But he really like helped push that boulder down the hill.
After 6 hours,
he got it over.
Minutes,
he got it over the speed
monitoring,
bump
which
to get
I haven't
it really
been able to monitor the situation adequately with the closeness that
like that was the intent. The intent,
right?
The reason why I say it's working as intended is because the intent
Iran is significantly
was to expand
E3G
corporate profits
yesterday. Oh, they
at
got
the expense of the workers. That was the intent, and that's what's happening.
An aerial early advance warning.
But I mean, in terms of what are we supposed to do?
In addition to a number of KC
like on an individual basis,
that suffered very little damage in yesterday's Iranian ballistic missile and drone attack
you don't
on
even have to organize, but participate in some way.
E3G
whether that's
airborne early warning and control. Aircraft also suffer significant damage
whether
in the
that's
attack. These are
trying to
behemoths,
help
like
a district office with like constituent services.
A very important role in American surveillance capabilities in the region, especially at a time when
some people have the time, some don't. But again, that's as intended.
I'm not right.
All these changes that have been made, in the corporate /employment /workers' rights sphere, has been intended to remove the time
they play a very important role
that we have to
American
organize.
radar capabilities, American surveillance capabilities.
Wage labor, or wage slavery is what it's called.
Yeah, losing an AWACS.
Because if you are, think about it, like if you're,
there's not that many of them.
If you're just like, a couple days of work away from not being able to pay your electric bill, you're probably not going to spend all day
U.S.
protesting.
Air Force operates 16 E-3Gs with around 40 to 50% of aircraft currently deployed to the Middle East
designed,
for Operation
as intended.
Epic Fury, Epic Fortnite fail.
And what I keep saying is one of the most important
production
things
lines
that
for
people
the
have to
E3s
remember
were ceased in the 1990s.
is that
While the first airframe was retired in 2023,
when you stand up
the
against
E3s would be
these
replaced by the
inequalities,
E7 wedge-tail in
these
2027. However, in June 2025, the Pentagon announced
inadequacies,
cancellation of the
these
E7 in favor of
discrepancies,
space-based solutions,
any
including the proposed Golden
non-violent
Dome
resistance
and
movement,
the E2D Advanced Hawkeye.
if you are participating in that movement, you have to understand that there is a you have to understand and accept
Iran's throwing rocks at
that it is
billion-dollar
more likely
planes.
than
We're still
not
here. That's the actual
that
deterrent.
you will be on the receiving end.
I don't know if that person is
of the
saying that as a
government's
positive,
backlash.
like, or is a pro-Iranian side or not.
Like, you have to.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons why it's so hard to get people organized.
It's kind of funny, but like, low key, they are just straight up lobbing rocks.
Even if you're like in the upper part of the lower
$100 million
class,
planes,
which is basically what I am. Like, I'm still kind of living paycheck to paycheck, but I got a house.
Speaking of drones, interesting new tactic.
I got beds. I can afford, my car. I can afford everything that I need to.
The Ukrainian darts
but I'm still like,
impaling the battery pack
if I go like maybe, I'd say I have enough to survive like
Russia-Ukraine
3 months without any income source whatsoever.
Playing field.
And then that's it. I'm done. Like, my mortgage would be in default.
Bro,
I wouldn't be able to pay my insurance, right?
Man. That entire plane program cost $22 billion.
So I kind of do have a little bit of
that
luxury in that.
$300 million per.
But everyone else that's even, below me on the economic ladder.
What is this? Massive Iranian drone attack ongoing in northern Iraq this evening with numerous impacts.
A lot of people aren't willing to. Wow. Shit. A lot of people aren't willing to make that decision. Regardless of intent, many 1800s presidents spent their entire term trying to fix some of those issues. Only for the next few presidents literally make their work and the work of those Congress go down the drain. Like, the story of the president who worked so hard that they died only 2 years, something like that. After leaving office due to exhaustion, almost all that guy's work went to nothing by the mid-1900s due to Congress and presidents of that time. Yeah, dude, look at it.
It was devastating.
Obama was only in office for 8 years. Look at the before and after.
I disavow you. I think you're a danger. You're a dangerous anti-Semite. I think we should give more money to Israel. It was truly. I guess I was wrong. I learned that I was just wrong. My worldview was wrong. It was opposed vehemently. It was opposed so perfectly, so absolutely.
And I think in terms of
by
the first part of your comment about
people in the heart
next few presidents putting the work down the drain, look at what Trump did.
Very clearly, they said,
especially the second term,
we want
in the span of not even 2 years.
Yeah, I tried my best.
He has completely eroded like 80 years worth of international
what we want
relationships.
Is to make sure that we subsidize billionaires.
Boom, just like gone.
What we want is to make sure we don't get
these other
any
countries
of our productive output back.
Knowing that
you have people lining up to meet you. Okay,
singular executive.
So you see, that's
and
also
his,
a mistake. You think that they were
lining
up to meet me?
His candidate
they were lining up to meet me to say
are capable
to me,
of doing this much damage.
To disavow you.
I don't know if the U.S. will be able to rebuild trust internationally.
Wait, are you serious?
At least not in my lifetime.
Bro, there's always one guy that's just like maybe a little too autistic. You know what I mean?
And on some level, I don't even feel like we deserve it.
Lay it on so fucking thick.
Based on the fact that
every time I say
internationally, our decision-making process has been
hypocritical
hypocritical for as long as I can remember.
Impossible to believe there's
I remember growing up
that's like,
in the 80s hearing about the stuff that Israel did to the Palestinians. You know what I mean? It's just we didn't have TikTok,
What the fuck? No, man. I'm fucking joking. That's crazy.
So they've always been kind of, hypocritical in that way.
But there was never any Democrats disavow all No Kings protests for marching with Hassan Piker.
The sincerity of our alliance with NATO and NATO countries, for example.
Imagine they believe the Emma Vigeland condemnation too. I mean, there's probably some people who do that. Like they're like, yeah, guy who's like a fan of both me and Emma Vigeland. Who's like,
in terms of economics, there was
like,
I can't remember the
really
dude's name. He looks
both
like
of these people, but I guess she had to do what
I
she
imagine
had to do,
if Trump's if Trump's pleasure hamster was turned into a human, that's what this guy would be. I think it's like Hazlitt. I think it's his name.
Clavicular didn't instigate the fight between the women. He is autistic.
Hazlitt? I don't remember. He's always got this stupid little smirk on his face.
I wish I had a fa.
But he does. He just looks like Trump's pleasure gerbil turned into a human. But he made a comment recently that really stuck out. And I don't think it was intentional, but he was being interviewed, I believe, on one of like Fox or CNN
Westchester
or something.
Dems just made a post denouncing you after meeting Effie. They did.
He said he kept insisting that the economy was doing fine, like even after all these tariffs and the start of war and whatnot, the oil. But then a few sentences later, a few moments later, a couple questions later, he made a comment, something
funny.
that like there might be,
at a certain
short-term
point, you
struggle
ask,
for
like,
consumers.
Who is this for? Right?
And I'm like, wait a second.
Here.
This freaking pleasure gerbil just said that the economy was fine. And then it clicked. I was like, they don't see consumers like myself.
Oh, you want to see this clip?
As being
a
part
random
of the
old lady
economy,
interrupted a CNN interview
which leads
with
me
no
to think,
protest and called up Democrats for
what's
not
the
doing
separation?
The most recent sort of
And then
conversation debate about
you see all these high volume trades being made right before Trump makes an announcement on Truth Social. Coincidentally, pumping billions of dollars right before he says he makes a statement that improves the oil prices.
You're also on CNN.com.
I'm like, okay. To them, the economy is Wall Street, not us. And that's something that I think people need to understand. To us, the economy is us. Like how much, like how stable is our food supply? Like how well?
You don't think so?
How stable is our home?
How do you like
in turn financially? That's the economy. How much is gas? How much does it cost to fill up my tank? To them,
Boom. I love him.
The economy,
boom,
is how much profit can they make on a $500 million stock trade?
Nice to meet you.
Okay, I'll have to look out for it.
Okay.
Like we have to remember that.
Okay. Nice to meet you. Thank you. Oh, never mind.
I did want to. Can I take a picture of my mom with you?
Sure.
She's a huge fan.
All right.
Oh, is the
Twitch is a website.
Is the video
Twitch
audio
for making you the poster boy
from the videos? Is it the same as before?
Years ago? Bitch,
the
way they
down
treat me
so
nowadays, I should
up,
be
but
literally telling them I'm a YouTube streamer.
Viewers can hear it.
I should be telling anybody who asks me what I do for a living. I'm like, I'm just a YouTube streamer,
Oh shit! I want to play.
That's the mom you banned, probably? Nah. She doesn't know your name. She'll never find you online. Dog, I don't think she's going to find me online, okay? Actually, that's not even true. I think she will find me online because there's so many people have already seen this clip. This clip is going super viral. Look at this. It already has like 19K in like, 3 hours. So
you still didn't answer my earlier question about whether the microphone sounded better and whether it was picking up background noises.
She don't got internet.
I'm disappointed in you.
She's a queen.
This is
yeah, we got to get
disappointed
this on
in my viewers
TikTok.
Viewer.
What is this new word? Is it the towers? Going up to girls and saying, "Damn, you're like by yourself." Maxing might be the new.
He starts looking right away.
What does that smell?
Damn, you're like by yourself maxing. I feel bad. You okay?
What is that?
That's crazy, bro. They'll put this man
supposed to be a symbiosis here.
Keep this man in jail.
You're back.
Keep this man in prison, bro. Supermax.
Please.
Supermax.
Thanks.
God damn. What the fuck is this polymarket funded bullshit? Yeah, bro, because I said. Because.
Oh crap!
I said
need
no
to
to
sometime
their
this
money
week.
one
I need
time,
to.
and he never let it go.
I need to make sure I have my stream set up for like.
They never let that shit go.
Like interviews and conversations.
Yeah, this is the strongest, most valuable digital media flank of the Dem coalition right now, and the only one regaining the trust of young and disillusioned voters. Centrists and Zionists can fight it as hard as they want, just like they did Zoran, but the reality isn't changing. Yep. I'd also note that online consumers now are much more attuned to coordinated narrative campaigns than in the past. when a bunch of people all push similar language in the same 2-day period is obvious. And again, like
there's just so many issues and
can
so many
often yield the
forces
opposite of its
that
intended
want us to
effect. I
fail
think
that it
that's
seems
what it is.
impossible
That's
to
what's
fix.
going
Yeah,
on.
it does. That's why, like, something I was going to mention before, like in terms of like voting and organizing, like that's just
like
I'd say voting is the bare minimum.
The amount
like that is the bare minimum
of
it's
yelling
like an hour
about
of your time,
what I represent would have been
once every 2 years, or if you participate locally, which you should, it's like once or twice a year.
Now this shit just washes over me like it's nothing. It was so nice.
That's like the bare minimum.
There were so many people crowding around to say hi.
The next thing about
I had to remind myself Hassan is in fact
some
very
sort
famous,
of
not just my close personal friend.
participating in some type of organizing.
Only me and my 3 friends.
Even if you're just a participant, like going to city council meetings,
so
right?
funny.
Finding out what's going on. That'd be a step above that. And then the step above that is actually
think they don't have a worse
organizing
approval
itself.
Than Trump. Bro, they're living in la la motherfucking land.
Getting groups together to discuss, like local legislation.
Yeah, also,
local
more to the point,
policies.
all these guys are feigning outrage about Plague's 9/11 comments. Well, they go on Bill Maher's, Bill Maher, who is famous above all else
meeting with them.
for praising the 9/11 hijackers. Yeah, but now he's Islamophobic and pro-Israel, so it doesn't matter. That's
and
the
then
whole
I would
point,
say
right?
the level above that is actually, would be like running for some type of position yourself. So,
after the virtual
but
event,
somewhere in between the first step and the second step,
no, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. It's gonna bum
the
me
bottom,
out.
the bare minimum, and the next
I
one.
don't want to see that shit.
Is influencing, or focusing on your own sphere of influence.
Therefore, you run out of fuel, come home, you've got to
your friends,
turn the whole thing around.
your
services.
relatives.
If you can stop at a gas station in the sky,
your coworkers,
plug in, gas and go, and then go on again, you can do 3 or 4 trips on one sortie, and therefore that's why they're called a force enabler. Now,
it's like under my nail.
A significant escalation in a region already
hope that makes
on high alert.
Let me give you this example.
The Yemeni armed forces, with the help and the grace of God Almighty, has done its first military attacks with a barrage of ballistic missiles against sensitive military targets in the south of occupied Palestine.
I really didn't.
And with that attack, Yemen's Houthis entered the war,
and then
making this Israel's 3rd active front. The Israeli army says air defenses intercepted 1 missile before it reached Israeli territory. It comes as domestic tensions are emerging. Israeli military officials are pushing back against the government's strategy in southern
was
Lebanon.
The first time
more troops have been deployed to expand what it calls a buffer zone,
also voted
pushing
as well.
deeper into Lebanon.
I guess you could say my stepfather,
Media
but
reports
they didn't
suggest
get married
the
until
army's chief of staff is concerned by the continued exemption of ultra-Orthodox Israelis
so
from
to me, that's a success.
In Israel, the Houthis' decision to join the battle is seen as a retaliation to strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities and an attempt to strengthen
resulted in 2 people paying more attention to what was going on and making an effort to go and vote.
Iran's
to have a say in what was going on,
indirect talks
regardless
with
of
the
how
US
minimal.
to end the war.
So
it's also a message from the Yemeni group,
trust me, this
Iranian
happens to me all
ally,
the time.
to Washington.
Like I have to
with exports through the Strait of Hormuz largely blocked. Maritime traffic in the Red Sea could be next.
I don't watch any political videos.
The Bab el-Mandeb Strait, an important commercial shipping route, is also used by U.S. carriers to reinforce its military presence in the region. The Houthis have disrupted shipping before attacking vessels in the Red Sea during Israel's war on Gaza.
And yeah,
it's no
does feel
secret
overwhelming
that any
because you see
escalation
all
to
the
prolong
problems.
the war serves Israel's
But
political
you have to
and
narrow,
military
when that
goals.
happens, you have to narrow your vision.
Are the ultra-Orthodox
Like
being
what-
exempt more like Mormons or
what is
Quakers
the
in
issue
terms of numbers?
that is
It
most
is the fastest growing
prominent to you? And it can't be a
perhaps
big
the
issue.
only
Like you
growing
can't say, oh, the
population
Constitution.
Center.
You can't say, oh, the
like
Supreme
only
Court. No,
growing,
it's got to be.
demographic in Israel.
It has to be narrowly focused.
And yes, they get religious exemption. And
And
it's really funny.
what is it?
And,
Then you have to think
it's
like,
a major point of
what is it that
contention in
you
Israel.
can do
Major point of contention in Israel.
to positively influence
Benjamin Netanyahu has been careful
that issue,
not to
no
defy
matter
the
how
U.S.
small.
president, but he has repeatedly stated that.
And then you know you have to like, what can I do to positively influence? And you have to try. You have to try. And the second thing
Israel
that you
would
have
totally
to do
dismantle not just
is
Iran's nuclear facilities, but its
Mormons have
no
no
matter
doctrinal
how
belief in
small,
avoiding service. What the fuck? Yeah,
you
I don't know
have
why.
to.
I think that chatter meant Amish or Quakers. Maybe
You have to celebrate
because
in your positive incremental changes, no matter how
to
small.
serve in the military.
Ballistic
Like, I keep
missile program,
that
and even its military.
I've been able to get.
And these Israeli goals do not appear to be aligned with those of the U.S.
I've doubled voting.
A potential end of the war or even a ceasefire is concerning to many in Israel. And that's why Israel is expected to keep trying to jeopardize any diplomatic progress and push for further escalation.
Graduate in a couple
Nida Ibrahim,
months.
Al Jazeera, Ramallah, Palestine.
The problem I had before when I was younger
Jawad
is
Abu
it felt
Nasser,
like 4
back
years
in the
worth
arms
studying
of his
was
mother.
overwhelming.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah, I'm gonna skip.
it just felt like it was too big of a mountain to climb.
It's too devastating.
But as I've gotten older,
we've already covered this,
more mature,
but it's very interesting
and I've
that
actually
Sky News and
found,
Channel 4 is now
medication.
covering it as well.
Undiagnosed ADHD, for example.
I've already covered it. I'm not
That
going to
didn't
cover
help.
it again. But I'm glad that Western media is picking this story up.
I've been
covering
able
it. It's
to
unbelievable.
Look at each
and
individual
yet,
step.
Ongoing.
Every single
and
time I
fairly
completed a step, no matter
commonplace
how small.
form of torture.
Actually, this is a
it's
problem
just,
with people who
expected
have
from Israel. If
ADHD.
there's one country that you would
They don't
expect
get
from,
they
it's
don't get
definitely
the
Israel.
micro dose of endorphins from completing small tasks, and that was one of the problems I had growing up.
As
I'd
a
say
French
prior to like 5
communist,
years
the
ago, to be
grain
honest
of
with you.
salt that I realized that the only internationalism I
But now
witnessed
I do.
is us watching
Like
the
even something small as like
three
if I'm submitting a resume cover letter,
shape,
I'm
courage,
thinking like, oh my god, I have
camaraderie.
all this other homework to do. Like I have all this other stuff I have to do. It's on my plate. Like this feels like a waste of time. I have all this other important stuff to do. But just spending like the 20-30 minutes necessary to edit that cover letter, that resume, get it submitted.
Israeli soldiers
It's like,
order
oh,
us to the ground.
that feels good. I got that
Producer
knocked out.
Abir Salman
And that is a
Mormons
small,
are highly sought after in the
positive,
FBI and
incremental
CIA,
change.
yeah.
Although on a personal level, like it's not going to influence policy, but it will help you.
They speak multiple languages.
Joe
usually. They
giving
travel the
motivational speech
world.
instead of talking about
They're
eating
very
billionaires. Never thought I'd see the day.
It's just.
Hey,
it makes
I don't
sense.
mind talking about this topic either, to be honest
What
with
is
you.
this?
But then again,
apologies are not enough. There
the
needs to
things
be
that
clear
I'm
accountability.
saying
99.9%
is coming from my own point of view.
I mean,
you
fucking
know?
Barack Ravid.
And
doing,
I will be honest in
I
saying
guess,
that the number one
PR here,
biggest
the soldiers' conduct and statements
change
in,
in my own personal life was
do not represent the idea of going
was
against what is expected the idea of soldiers to be
was being
investigated in real time after
diagnosed
receiving the
with
report and
ADHD.
react to the result of the issue.
Because I remember like
Fuck you.
basically my whole life up
Yeah,
until
it's
a few
because
years
it
ago,
was on Western news.
where
man. And by the way,
oh god, it was especially hard when I was in
what
the military.
a fuck!
Oh, we get like
what a
PowerPoint to
big
death,
fuck
death
you
by
to everybody
PowerPoint.
else that like this
we
is
get
the
like 2
amount of
slides
power
in,
that Western
and
media
then
has, especially
next
now
thing
because
I
Israel's
know,
so
like 4
fucking
more
weak,
slides have
that
gone
they
by,
can
and I'm like
literally-
daydreaming about something else. Like I'm going through like a
they
hypothetical
can
like shower
whip up
thoughts.
a real
You know what I
PR
mean?
crisis. A
But then, you know, once I got out of the military, it wasn't even until I got out of the military,
This is about the CNN attack.
and I actually got
Wait,
tested.
oh, this is something different.
Like they had like some little.
It's not
It
about
was
the
like 30
torture. This
minutes.
is- wait,
I had to
what
sit in front
happened?
of a computer with little
Oh,
clicker.
it's about this.
And I guess there were sensors inside
Oh.
this clicker that measured like grit
Oh,
pressure.
I thought it was about the baby torture. Oh my god.
Perspiration.
Oh, my
Yeah.
mistake. My
like
mistake.
reaction time.
They didn't actually fucking apologize
And it was
for the baby
like
torture.
there were like 5 different shapes it would cycle through.
It's this.
With
Jeremy
5
Diamond
shapes,
got
multiple
attacked.
sizes.
His colleague got
And I
attacked.
was
So-
only
Identifies
supposed to
us as
click the
journalists
button
before
if I
translating
saw a
soldiers'
specific shape.
commands.
Sit down, sit down, sit down.
And
so the soldiers just immediately came up and started
after-
pointing the
I
weapons
only got
directly
maybe like
at us,
5
telling
or
everyone
10
to
minutes
sit
into
down
it,
immediately. Obviously, we're not posing
I had caught
any threat
myself.
here.
The
Like,
commander comes straight for our
a
camera.
shape would pop up, and I
Within
realized I
seconds-
didn't even see what the previous shape was. Like it didn't even process. Like my brain was somewhere else.
A soldier has
But
just
after
put
I actually started
photojournalist
taking
Cyril Theophilus
medication,
in a
like,
chokehold, forcing him
it's just
to the
like
ground.
my whole
Yeah, I mixed
world
up the human rights
changed.
violations
It was
with
like
classic mistake.
a fog had been lifted.
It's a classic,
You know what I
mistake
mean?
with Israel because they do
It's
so
like
much
I could finally
so frequently. With impunity,
the next
it's
step.
like tough. It's tough to
You know?
figure out exactly which human rights violation.
So that was the
they're
biggest change for
apologizing
me.
For. It's already a
But
unique
there are
incident when they
people
do
that are able
apologize for it at all.
like maybe like unlike me,
The soldier who
it's,
assaulted
you know, they're-
Theophilus continues to demand he turn off his camera.
you know, their
before
depression,
another
anxiety,
smacks my
however,
phone.
whatever level that may be at,
We've
whether
come to the
minor or
West Bank
major,
village of Taysir, where Israeli
doesn't
settlers
necessarily
have
stem
established
from
an outpost
undiagnosed
considered
ADHD
illegal
like it did
even
me.
under Israeli law.
And
yet here,
that is the advice that I would give them.
I mean, this
is
like they've gone up the escalation
celebrate
ladder, right? Like they've
the
killed
incremental
Palestinian
changes.
Journalists in the eyes of the Western world and even the Western
It
press.
seems stupid.
It means nothing.
Like,
Let's
if
be
you're
real.
happy that you remember to take out the trash before trash day, it feels stupid because then you're like, I'm supposed to do
right?
that. Like,
and they don't even fucking
like no,
consider
freaking celebrate it.
journalists to be their
Like,
colleagues,
yeah,
let alone
knocked it
human
out.
beings
You know what I mean?
lives. Okay. So
and I believe, I don't know for sure. I'm not
all this impunity with
I'm not a
this lack of
psychologist.
accountability, of course,
But
these fucking dickheads are going to start
I believe that if you
going after
do that for yourself,
brown-looking CNN journalists too,
then you will be more successful at the big
obviously
positive
they would have to
changes.
apologize, right? This is CNN, not a small-time news arm. Man, Neekski, shut your bitch ass up, okay? Yes, they did apologize for it, and also they should not do it.
Yeah, just to
anybody.
reiterate, politically,
they assassinated reporters in
as
South
bad as
Lebanon,
things
and they
are,
said they're Hezbollah affiliate media. It's fucking
focus
insane.
on
Israel carried out a
when it
targeted
feels
strike on vehicles in
overwhelming.
the southern town of Jezine.
One, take a
killing
break.
Ali Shoaib, correspondent for Al Manar,
And then
one of the
two,
most prominent and widely followed
shift your
reporters covering
focus
the
to your own
South,
sphere
and Fatima
of
Fatouni,
influence.
reporter for Al Mayadeen, along with her brother photojournalist
You're not going
Mohammed
to change
Fatouni,
what President
and
Trump
Shoaib's
does.
son. Shoaib
Not going to happen.
was
But
widely
you might
regarded as the voice
convince
of Southern
somebody
Lebanon,
that
with his reporting and telegram
was,
updates
you
relied
know,
on real-time coverage of the war
disenfranchised with
to his
politics to be
prominent
like, you know what,
on-the-ground,
maybe I should like
correspondent,
pay attention, you know?
who just before the war confronted Lebanon's prime minister, warning that her family in the south was under constant threat. Relatives were just killed last month before she herself was assassinated in this strike. They also literally posted the video of them striking.
But now that I went on that rant,
They openly
you have to
said
answer
that they
my
were
three
targeting
questions.
them. Again,
Is my voice more clear than before?
they don't care.
Is it picking up background noise? And is the audio from the video that's playing, can it still be heard? I await your response.
They'll never stop. Why would they stop? Why would they fucking stop? Who's gonna stop them? If we're not gonna stop them, why would they do it? Yeah, here's some IDF justification for why they killed the 3 journalists. They don't even bother to explain the other 2. The terrorist Al-Shoaib worked to incite against the Defense Army Forces and citizens of the State of Israel, using his platform as a means to disseminate propaganda materials for Hezbollah. And during Operation Roaring Lion as well, he continued his activity and reported on the locations of Defense Army Forces operating in southern Lebanon. Israel's openly admitting that they killed him for reporting. It's truly insane.
The soldiers stand idly by. Soldiers detain us too and walk us back to our vehicle. They say they're trying to establish order between settlers and Palestinians. But as the cameras keep rolling, it becomes clear these soldiers are here in service of the settler movement.
כל יהודה ושומרון זה שלנו, בוודאי. לא רק של חיילים, של היהודים.
In Taysir, settlers took the land at the expense of 75-year-old Abdullah Darahme. His breathing is labored, his face bloodied, bruised, and swollen, bones broken. His family and multiple eyewitnesses say the settlers stormed into his home in the middle of the night and beat him to a pulp. I didn't expect this, Abdullah's son says. This is not normal.
This is why, if you're watching the video,
you had opportunities to distance yourself and your administration from arming Israel, which has committed what leading Holocaust scholars and human rights agencies call a genocide. You rejected them and continued arming Israel. This is your legacy. How do you justify to the countless Palestinians, including thousands of children, that died, from your decisions?
Once people realize
just to share the point, I'm going to read off the names of children who died in Gaza due to the actions.
Because I think that they know
people
most
who are 1-year-old killed before they could take their first steps. Ayla, Ali, Obeid, Salah Houdin, Abu Layla, Adam, Warshaga, 1 year old, Jowd, and it goes on thousands and thousands of names. How do you reconcile with this, and how do you reconcile with your legacy?
Corporatist Dems are pretty much MAGA-like.
As we were talking about before, this is something that I grappled with and will continue to grapple with.
Dude, what a victim, dude. What a victim. was really tough for him, dude. You know, he grappled with it. It was tough decision.
For as long as I can see into the future. Could we, should we have done things differently such that the suffering that people endured, the loss of the children that you just listed, and so many others, could have been averted? And the short answer is, maybe yes. You couldn't be, and I wouldn't be human if I didn't ask myself every day, could we have done things differently? The one thing I want to suggest to you as well, and I mentioned this earlier, is I believe, and look, maybe I'm wrong, that the nature of the trauma in Israel, which is, there's no hierarchy of trauma. The trauma in Israel, the trauma among Palestinians.
Oh my God, dude, what trauma in Israel? They feel bad about fucking doing genocide? They don't even feel bad yet. They haven't even done the fucking, oh, it's bringing a tear to my eye that we killed so many children shit yet. The fuck do you mean the trauma in Israel? What are these people talking about, man? This shit makes me so angry. Holy fuck. Oh my God, he's doing the, but what about October 7th in 2026? Israel has done thousands of October 7s at this point. What the fuck are you talking about?
The same. The loss of a Palestinian life, the loss of an Israeli life, the same. But on the Israeli side, the trauma was such that I believe the determination across that society to take the actions that they took in Gaza was such that irrespective of what we did, they would have continued to do what they did. And cutting off arms, sure, that was an option, but I don't actually believe that, at least in the near term, it would have changed things. And I also believe it would have led to an even wider war as Israel's enemies, and they were multiple, jumped in, and that only would have extended the war in Gaza, not ended the war in Gaza. I fully, more than respect, I empathize with people who felt this so deeply. I do remain with a question in my mind about why barely a word was spoken in all those months about Hamas, which was an actor too, and is responsible for so much of what happened. But yes, we all look at it. I certainly look at it and say, maybe we could have done it differently. Maybe we could have done better by the people. I wish we could have.
What do you mean as a state sponsor of terrorism? How do you define terrorism? Are we going to argue?
I don't normally watch the Hassan stream on here, to be honest with you. But I didn't have any YouTube videos in the queue because of the internet outage last night.
Report cooking on CNN.
And
so
is
once,
literally the number one.
Is Iran committing genocide in Gaza right now, like the Israeli government is, which dragged us into this war, which every president
for the meantime,
number one sponsor.
I don't really watch his
Iranians have killed Americans and our allies across this world.
Okay.
They're trying to obtain nuclear weapons so they can annihilate Israel and potentially capitals in Europe.
There's no evidence of that. The JCPOA was actually a successful deal that Obama
I find it appalling that
negotiated.
you're an Iranian apologist.
Yeah, this is so. There's nothing I can do that call out Israel's genocide and then everybody swarms.
No. This
is the one thing that you can't say. It's the one thing you can't say. It is about Gaza. This is about a regional conflict that's spiraling out of control that the president is adding to.
That there's no evidence that Iran wants nuclear weapons. They lied.
There has been a religious edict that has said since 2003 that they should not be creating a nuclear weapon.
They lied to the United Nations. They lied to the international.
We killed the Ayatollah, the older father, who was actually against building a nuclear weapon because he thought that it was going to contribute here.
I'm genuinely shocked that you are defending the Iranians, and I got to tell you, I hope that you tuck yourself in at night under that pillow
of lies. Also, I'm genuinely shocked that you're defending Iranians. Like, yeah. It turns out some people have a fucking conscience, man. Like, what?
Yeah, it's so weird.
What's wrong with you?
That we defend Iranian citizens. It's so weird.
It's crazy.
How crazy is that?
Like, the audacity.
To defend civilians?
Like, someone on fucking CNN being like,
how could you do that?
Like, how dare you? Like, the assumption that like everyone else is going to be on the same wavelength. You know?
Oops. Lies that you just told about the Iranians. That is absolute a crock of a word I can't say on national television.
Okay, so the United States.
Again, look. This is the beauty of American civility, right? The beauty of American civility On the one hand, he can't say crock of shit on television, but on the other hand, he has no problems whatsoever
Actually,
being
something I
like,
haven't
yeah,
checked in a while.
Iranians deserve death. How dare you defend them?
I haven't checked my YouTube. I still stream on YouTube. Like I never check to see if I ever actually get any views or not.
That insane double standard, you know? Like, thank you so much. Thank you so much for not saying crock of shit.
It's funding.
Perhaps we should also have some restrictions on, I don't know, being a genocidal psychopath.
A government that an Israeli human rights group B'Tselem says is committing genocide, as is Amnesty International, as is every credible human rights group right now. We are there's a massacre in Gaza. There are hundreds of thousands of people unaccounted for under rubble. That's what I define as terrorism. Now, Iran is now exerting their leverage over the Strait of Hormuz.
Do you want the Iranians to have a nuclear weapon? Yes or no?
Thousands of people.
All these
everybody
previous
you're
streams are
talking
just a whole
about
bunch of like
disagree with your personal description of what terrorism is, and I'm sorry, it doesn't meet the bill.
I mean, killing civilians is what I define it as a diplomat.
Oh wow.
Some have called you China's Nostradamus. You had 3 famous predictions in 2024
so the ones
that
that
Trump would
actually
get
had
elected,
titles were getting
that he would start a war with Iran, and that he would lose a war with Iran.
Iran clearly has the strategic advantage. I think the next step.
Oh my God, is there a full one?
It started streaming them with where it was just like a generic title. Average Joe live stream.
Ain't no fucking way, big
Once
dog.
it did that,
Professor
it started
Jiang with
winning no
Mehdi.
views. Okay, that's fine.
Mehdi
I
coming
figured out how to
after
change
my
it back.
goat. Hello? Hello? That's fucked up. Mehdi? You come at the king, you best not miss. Professor Jiang, my beloved. Seen a lot of naysayers in the chat. A lot of people who are calling into question
I might have to
the undisputed GOAT.
Put the headset
Professor
on
Jiang?
so that I can hear.
Some of you are not ready for it, it seems. Some of you are not ready for the truth, it seems. You know? It's fine, bro. One day you'll recognize. One day you'll learn. Professor 2016 Grave Replacement, he's so funny. Everything he says is so funny. Full version here. Wait, it's only 4 minutes? What the fuck?
You had 3 famous predictions in 2024 that Trump would get elected, that he would start a war with Iran, and that he would lose a war with Iran.
Iran clearly has the strategic advantage. I think the next step in the escalation ladder is that Trump will send in ground forces.
Nikki Haley was key to your prediction about Iran. You said
I did
Trump
intend
would
on
pick her
watching this video
as his running mate, but he didn't pick her.
I think that the problem with education is that it focuses too much on facts, too much on rigor, and not enough on imagination.
Too much on facts. Do you hear yourself? Just trying to control what you say now. Your critics might say they're using you as a propagandist.
It is possible I'm a useful idiot. And I suspect that there are many entities around the world who would like to amplify my message, including the Chinese government.
Hold on. You don't call yourself Professor Jiang on your YouTube channel?
I do now, but when I first started out, if you go way back to my early lectures...
It doesn't matter when you first started out. You do call yourself Professor Jiang and you're not a professor. What is your big prediction now for 2026? We'll see what happens.
Hater.
Test it out at the end of the year.
Bro, Mehdi's being a hating ass bitch, bro. Yo, what the hell? I'm actually very glad that someone with fucking... I mean, Mehdi is obviously very good at this stuff. But you know, he's also very smart. Glad that he's finally doing interviews with someone with a working brain. Professor Jiang, I mean. Bro, someone in the chat literally said, wait a minute, he's not a professor. Ain't no way. Ain't no way you thought he was an actual professor, bro. Open the schools. Open the schools. Look.
Back in 2024, Chinese-Canadian educator Shui-Qin Jiang posted a video on his YouTube channel, Predictive History, where he laid out 3 big predictions. Donald Trump would win the 2024 election, the US would then go to war with Iran, and ultimately the US would lose that war. Since then, the self-styled professor who says he uses game theory to analyze the past and predict future geopolitical events has become an internet sensation and has even been dubbed China's Nostradamus. But he's also faced some criticisms over his predictions and many would say pretty out there conspiracy theories. 2 out of 3 of Jiang's big predictions have come true. But how much of that is his own geopolitical foresight and how much of it simply comes down to luck? How much does the Chinese government control or even influence what he says, what he predicts? I decided to not just speak to Shui-Qin Jiang, aka Professor Jiang, about Iran and the state of the world, but also to challenge him a bit. Here's our interview. Shui-Qin Jiang, thank you so much for joining me on Zeteo. You have said you use game theory to predict future geopolitical events.
Hate-ass bitch. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, Mehdi, he cooked his ass. Mehdi is the worst person for an unstoppable force like Professor Chiang. Okay, literally could not have faced a worse person. If your goal is to do propaganda and or have an audience of easily fooled individuals, and talk to a person that's just like not going to call into question what you're up to.
There we go. That's better.
You know, he was doing all these like Sneeko interviews and stuff. Like he was cooking, right? Mehdi is gonna obviously put belt the ass here.
Notice who has 100%. Oh, why is my desktop audio so quiet?
Who've never heard of game theory, please do explain what it is and how it helps you explain what's happening with Donald Trump and with Iran in particular.
Right. So game theory applied to geopolitics means that we see each individual nation state as a player in a zero-sum game to maximize its individual. And so each player would have its own characteristics, its own strengths, and it would adopt a optimal strategy in order to win the zero-sum game.
So how does that apply in the Middle East right now?
Right. So the United States is attacking Iran, and these 2 nation states have different strengths and weaknesses. So America has the world's greatest military. It has aerial supremacy. It has tremendous technology. It has unlimited funding. And so Iran is adopting...
Bro, I just realized he doesn't have his whiteboard. That's why he lost this battle. My goat didn't have his whiteboard. It's fucked up. Mehdi, put the whiteboard behind him. You got him on a handicap, man. That's fucked up. Y'all seeing this? Not my Professor John. Mehdi should put the full video on YouTube, honestly. It would do LeBron numbers. Instead of keeping it behind a paywall. He didn't lose. He predicted he would tactically lose the battle. He's a kinetic thinker.
An asymmetrical strategy of holding the global economy hostage, meaning that rather than attacking the United States directly, which you cannot defeat directly, it is instead controlling the Strait of Hormuz, which is strangling the global economy, and it's attacking the GCC nations, the infrastructure of the GCC nations, in order to force Trump into the negotiating table.
I don't understand how this is game theory, by the way. Like, is that game theory?
So that is the asymmetrical warfare of Iran.
You've also predicted that the US, you had three famous predictions in 2024, that Trump would get elected, that he would start a war with Iran, and that he would lose a war with Iran. Based on what you've seen over the past month, do you still stand by that prediction?
Yes, I do. I think that after a month, I think that Iran clearly has the strategic advantage. And what I mean by that is that Iran is very clearly able to articulate its military objectives, and it has a very clear strategy of how to obtain these military objectives, and it is working very hard and very meticulously to obtain these objectives. This is the complete opposite of America, where Trump
Someone said, I predicted this too, and I'm not famous. Yeah, that's kind of the point. That's why it's like really funny that people were like, this is the most brilliant guy of all time. I guess, I mean, it is fair to say that if he predicted in 2024 that like Trump was going to win, which, you know, many people also predicted, and that he would go to war with Iran and then he would lose that war, that's pretty solid. I don't know if he predicted that through game theory, because I don't think he knows what game theory actually means. Kind of feels to me like he was just throwing, you know, throwing shit at the wall and this one stuck. But everything that he's talking about past that point, everything he's talking about past that point is just like pretty basic stuff.
Fail to articulate an end goal. And right now, it seems that the administration, the Trump administration, is unable to articulate both a strategy and a purpose to the American public, which is causing most Americans to not support this war. It's also causing low soldier morale among the American forces.
What do you think happens next if/when Iran wins?
Damn, man, he gave us a taste, bro. He gives us a fucking taste. Matthew, get that off the paywall, man.
It'll be on YouTube in a couple days.
The people need to predict.
In the escalation ladder is that Trump will send in ground forces.
Nikki Haley was key to your prediction about Iran. You said Trump would pick her as his running mate, but he didn't pick her.
I think that the problem with education is that it focuses too much on facts, too much on rigor, and not enough on
The problem with education focuses too much on facts is a bar. Y'all are literally not.
I don't think that's what he meant. I bet you he's going to say something about the process of learning itself.
Y'all could not predict that history, man. Average young listener. I've got more than lots of evidence to back this up. Is you who's falled for propaganda. Or you could be CIA Mossad agent for what I know. Now wake the fuck up. Do your research. It's a good time to do it. I will say more to you. This Professor Zhang does not say. These people from secret societies are not those in real power. They all serve alien entities who truly control this world. It's so funny. I think it's a testament to how much Chinese soft power has developed around the world without China literally doing much for it, to be fair. That like you can have a random Chinese guy and so many guys are just like, wow, this guy's fucking brilliant, dude. Like zero qualifications. He's got a whiteboard.
No way I'm gonna
Chinese,
win this.
and like, well, this guy has ancient wisdom. I love it. Respect.
Yeah, you guys.
What's up?
Get out of my screen, you fat shit.
Professor Zhang, my beloved.
On facts, do you hear yourself? You talk about this pre-far right concept of Pax Judaica, a new world order centered around Israel. Surely you understand why a lot of people think at best you're trafficking in pretty anti-Semitic tropes, and at worst, you're...
Yeah, well, I can't really see it because the black bar behind the notes is kind of like in the way.
He didn't even talk about my favorite.
Black bar that blends in with the notes. Of course you want the bar to be white, racist.
Pax Islamica.
Yeah, let's give like a 10-second.
a card-carrying anti-Semite.
Sorry, what is wrong with the term Pax Judaica?
You tell me. Does China control what you say now? Your critics might say they're using you as a propagandist.
It is possible I'm a useful idiot. And I suspect that there are many entities around the world who would like to amplify my message, including the Chinese government.
Hold on. You don't call yourself Professor Jiang on your YouTube channel?
I do now, but when I first started out, if you go way back to my early
Doesn't matter
lectures,
when you first started out. You do call yourself Professor Jiang and you're not a professor. What is your big prediction now for 2026? We'll see what happens. We can test it out at the end of the year.
I think if you or I were playing Iran's hand, we would not want to end
my hero.
Wait.
Okay, Frank, locked in, right?
It's not, first of all, I'm sorry to show you someone who's fraudulent, utterly devoid of the pedigree, and perhaps even more devastating, the whiteboard. This is fake, phony, Professor Not Jiang, okay? As I like to call every other professor. This is another Professor Not Jiang. It's Mersheimer.
The longer the war goes on, the worse it is for the United States and for Israel. So if you're the Iranians facing an existential threat, you're now in a war, and you're doing very well in that war. You're inflicting great pain on the international economy, which is another way of saying you're inflicting great pain on the United States.
Then you just keep antagonizing the U.S. to make mistakes.
Inflicting pain not only on the Gulf states themselves, but on Israel as well. Why would you quit? Why not just keep going? Inflict more and more pain. Make the Americans and the Israelis increasingly desperate.
How far up the escalation ladder will it go?
If you're playing Iran's hand, it's not in our interest for sure, certainly not in President Trump's interest, but from their point of view, given all the leverage they now have and the fact that they get more leverage as the war goes on, I wouldn't quit if I were them.
The No Kings demonstration taking over Midtown Manhattan. Some people told us why they're here today.
There's a lot of animosity towards this administration, and I think people feel a little rudderless. So events like this bring a coalition of people that have maybe some shared resentment, but also key issues that they care about.
I'm here because I can't express how much I hate Donald Trump. And I think that he's just ruining our country.
Demonization of internal enemies, glorification of violence and cruelty, appeals to a mythical past and racial superiority, intolerance of dissent, and unquestioned allegiance to the leader.
Who are you talking about?
Let me think. Our president.
I've studied history. We've never had a leader that was so indifferent and so immoral to the concerns of the average person.
We have to show out, as we're doing today, in record numbers to say this is not okay with us.
And I think a lot of people are just really angry. I mean, they're angry at the economy. They're angry at the Epstein file cover-up. They're angry that we're at war right now and Donald Trump is golfing. It's a betrayal of the American people.
This is not a war. This is not an award. Oh my God, I absolutely support the President of the United States of America.
I'm at CPAC in Dallas. It's the biggest conservative conference in...
Fucking finally, dude. Some real goddamn American patriots, bro. Hell yeah. I saw Harry Sasan over there. I almost lost my mind, you know? How dare you show me Harry Sasan? I need to see 10 Patriots. We haven't even done enough CPAC shit because, like... Bro, CPAC this year has been less motion than even the years prior. Trump didn't even attend it. No Tucker Carlson, none of the major MAGA heads, just pure freak show. Like, it's literally the Michael Pillow coalition.
The country, and lots of people here are talking about the war in Iran. Trump is not speaking at this event this year, but in the past when he has spoken here, he's talked a lot about not starting new wars.
When it comes to Iran, how do you feel about that?
I'm not happy. I'm not happy at all. I mean, President Trump ran on no new wars. I feel like we've been opted into a war that shouldn't be ours. It should be Israel's.
We want to say, Mr. President, thank you. Thank you for helping Iranian people.
What do you think of the war with Iran at the moment?
Unfortunately, I think it's necessary.
You do?
Yes, and he's the only president that had the backbone to take it on.
Do you believe that Israel forced the U.S. into this war?
Absolutely not.
Bro, Brace was saying that every corner there is a Persian yelling about Mr. President Trump. Thank you. Literally in every fucking corner of CPAC, it was just like occupied. It was Persian. It was POG, Persian occupied government.
Donald Trump does what Donald Trump wants to do.
I don't think Trump is really controlled by anybody, as much as everyone would like to control him. But I do question some of the things when it comes to, are we just going to bend over everything for Israel, you know?
What do you say to some Republican people who say, well, this is Israel's war, it shouldn't be America's war?
Dude. By the way, I low-key get why Israel doesn't give a fuck about anti-Semites. And not even on some like, oh, it scares Jewish people into like moving to Israel. Like, they are like right-wing anti-Semites who claim to be anti-Israel are such fucking cattle that like you hear the guy like in his voice, he wants to say like Jews control this country. Why would you do this to me, Mr. President? That's his mentality, but he can't even fucking identify it and like communicate it, right? Because he's a victim. Like, these guys can't even do anti-Israel, like, they can't even do anti-Semitism right. Okay, joking, but, like, kind of true, you know? So, yeah, when you look at that dynamic and you're like, well, we shouldn't really focus too much on, like, right-wing anti-Semitism because at the end of the day, they're still going to vote for Trump. Whereas on the left, if your primary focus is Israel, there's a fuck ton of real anger there.
That's not so. Israel is God's people. Those that bless Israel will be blessed. Those that curse Israel, they better watch out.
Do you feel disappointed in the president?
Such cucks.
Do you still support him?
I want him to succeed. I certainly do. I think it's to be determined on, you know, if I can remain to support him. We'll see how the next 6 months go, and we'll see what happens.
Are you concerned?
The answer is yes, bro. What are you gonna do? There is nothing more fake than a Trump hog being like, I don't know, we'll see. Like, shut up, bitch. You're gonna vote for him. You're gonna write his name in on elections in the future where his name is not even on the fucking ballot. Shut up. Bro's acting like we don't know what his behavior is. Nothing funnier to me than a coping hog who's just like, well, I don't know. Okay, buddy. Sure. Trump could literally shit on your chest. Trump could make you eat his dookie. And you still love his ass. Fuck out of here with this shit. Don't know if I can vote for him again. Right. What, am I crazy for saying that? Everyone's like, huh? That's the level of worship that these people have.
And that this war drags on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We hear the phrase America first. Let's put America first. And I'm concerned that this isn't putting America first.
Is the United States waging a holy war in Iran?
This is a battle of good versus evil.
God is just exposing everything. I believe we are living in the end times.
Those are the views of some conservative Christians here in Oklahoma, one of America's reddest states. That message is being amplified at the highest level by Donald Trump's defense secretary.
God bless our troops and this mission.
It's causing alarm among those who worry about the growing influence of Christian nationalism on U.S. policy.
I don't think the lines have been blurred. I think they've been stomped on.
People are being told that they need to go risk their lives in order to accelerate Armageddon.
Conservative Christians have access to this White House like never before. A president who regularly hosts evangelical leaders, and a defense secretary who embraces a combative brand of Christianity.
Blessed be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle.
Pete Hegseth is now invoking divine purpose to justify American military might in Iran.
Dear gracious God, I need you.
A conflict which some view as a holy war. Is it spotlighting increasingly blurred lines between church and state?
Give me wisdom, I pray.
Pastor Jackson Lawmeyer!
In Tulsa, Oklahoma, the man who founded the organization.
Why the heck is a religious service being announced like a freaking UFC fight?
From the pulpit where he preaches.
That Sharia law never takes root in this nation.
Oh my God, it's so
supports
thick coming from them.
And has spoken about his hope that the gospel.
We don't want Sharia law. We want evangelical law.
It's a message which resonates.
Which is actually more oppressive.
Well, I do believe it is almost an Armageddon.
But we're not going to tell you
that. We do have
that.
to stand up for what's right and what we believe in, and they are.
We're going to trick you into thinking it's different.
Square off the loss of innocent lives.
You're a much better person. Surely. You know what's really funny? These people unironically were like, well, they're a religious theocracy, like they're so backwards. Buddy, look around. You know? Like these people, without even a fucking moment of irony, will turn around and be like, well, they're a backwards country. They're run Islamic style. You know what I mean? We can't have that. We can't have that Islamic style government. They must learn the gospel.
It's perfectly fine. As someone whose dad serves in the military, I can tell you that it's just a cost. And unfortunately, it's the sad reality, but they did the right thing. They stood up and they fought for their country, and we can honor that. And I know that they're sitting with the good Lord right now. And in his...
Wait, is he talking about the Iranians? Because no American soldier that has died in the last month has died serving, like, they haven't died defending their country. They died defending Israel. Hate to do this to you, buddy. But you're wrong.
Great graces.
You should support Israel because God loves Israel.
Oh, I forgot to call.
Israel is the
Forgot to call another cable company this morning.
in the Bible.
Is it a religious war?
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Now I keep getting kicked off. Awesome.
Like exposing everything, using Trump, using other
Dropping
people
frames.
in this time to expose the evil.
You believe Donald Trump is a conduit for God?
100% we do.
Ugh.
First times that Eric was here at the church. This was me and the president years ago.
So disgusting.
Pastor Lehmeyer displays pictures with various members of the Trump family who have appeared at the church.
Bro, they're so stupid. It is truly mind-boggling how dumb these people are. Like, they're in the wealthiest country on the planet. They got internet everywhere. Access to so much information. But they have a medieval peasant-style understanding of the world. How the fuck does that happen? The Trump children? Like, it is remarkable that there is this much of a cult, like, understanding for anything. Like, I mean it. Like, in this day and age, in the information age, it is quite remarkable that people can be this delusional and people can be this much in a cult. Fascinating.
Do you see this war in religious terms?
Well, obviously, to the Ayatollah, it was definitely religious terms. It's jihad. It is to bring about the apocalypse, to usher in their Messiah.
You've spoken about the gospel penetrating a free Iran. What does that mean?
Well, that's not the job of the United States government. That's the job of pastors and preachers and evangelists when that door opens. And so a free Iran would open the door for ministries and preachers to go in and share the gospel.
At a different church viewpoint,
come on in.
Reverend Andy Campbell believes in Christianity to sell this war to the public.
If I go to war and I claim that God is on my side, if you oppose me, then evidently I must be godless.
Gay. Sorry. How many photos with Eric Trump do you have, buddy? Yeah, I said it. I need to see the photo wall, man.
And I think that's the point of it.
So do you think Pete Hegseth is playing on that then?
Oh, absolutely. He wants to take people that he perceives as enemies and make them less than human.
They smoked me all the way.
Defense Secretary Hegseth is provoking controversy with his rhetoric and his tattoos. He has a large Jerusalem cross which dates back to the Christian Crusades and a Deus Vult tattoo, Latin for God by far-right groups.
One of God's mightiest men, our Secretary of War, the Honorable Pete Hegseth.
Ship service for employees at the Pentagon.
You are here, working in.
I'd kill myself. Come on. It'd be funny, he's literally a alcoholic rapist.
So disgusting.
There's always these, like, super pro-God guys. Like, we get it, bro. You killed people. Okay, I got it. Like, I understand. Do this, you know what I mean?